Good morning. Welcome to our short course on mudras, and we're live here from Enchanted Mountain, Brazil. Let's begin singing. Loka samasta sukhina bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu. So we'll be having 4 sessions on mudras. So the first session, is this working here? Okay. The first session will be Introduction to Mudras. So the word mudra, the root, 2 roots, mud meaning delight or enchantment, and rati, that which brings forth. So mudra is that which bring forth or bring out delight or enchantment. This enchantment is really a reference to enlightenment. So it's the enchantment that allows us to realize, to awaken, to discover our true being. And we have 3 basic kinds of mudras. We've got the ones we're going to be talking mostly about here in our course, which are hand gestures. We're also going to be talking, there we go. Now I'm seeing myself clearly. So we're going to be talking mostly about the hand gestures, the gestures that use the hands, called Hasta Mudras. There are 2 other categories of mudras, at least 2 others. The first one would be mudras that use facial gestures. Just to experiment this briefly, closing the eyes, and just allow your eyes to naturally gaze toward the 3rd eye point in Shambhavi Mudra. So among all of the different types of facial gestures, facial mudras, allowing the eyes to relax upward and inward towards the 3rd eye, allowing you to connect with the 3rd eye more closely, more clearly. And there's another class of mudras that are using the entire body. Very common and well known, Viparita Karani Mudra, looking like a half shoulder stand. So if it looks like the half shoulder stand, what is it that makes it a mudra? So we would classify or define the mudras as the gestures that allow for the free flow of subtle energy throughout the body. And so as we move into Viparita Karani Mudra, first probably holding the gesture much longer than we would a yoga pose, but also it's used slightly different. Using the gesture to direct, to channel, and to experience the flow of subtle energy throughout the body. The facial mudras and also the bodily mudras are more common in the yoga literature, books such as the Hatha Yoga Pradipika. The hand gestures, which we'll be focusing on in this course, tend to come from an oral tradition, and they're also seen in statues, in all of the iconography from India, whether it be Hindu or Buddhist. And based on the gesture that we see that deity holding, it tells us the mood, the particular mood or gesture or quality that that divinity wants to portray in that particular piece of iconography. So for example, if we see the Buddha using a gesture of meditation, such as this one here, So that lets us know the quality that the Buddha would like to communicate. So closing the eyes just for a moment and sensing that meditative mood. So each of the gestures conveying a particular mood or a quality. And now let's take a very different mood. Right hand up, left hand down. So a mood for dispelling fear and offering good intentions. So closing the eyes and taking just a moment to attune to that gesture. Dispelling fear and offering intentions of peace and harmony. So almost all of the iconography we see in India, in Hinduism, Buddhism, or others, você pode pedir para elas fazer um pouquinho menos de barulho lá embaixo? And then resting the hands. So where do the mudras come from? So the mudras arise out of the experience that comes from meditation, from the great rishis or masters of the past. So they enter these deep states of meditation. And meditation is a vast realm with many different experiences and qualities. So as they entered these realms, the gestures would occur spontaneously, and they could then use these gestures both to remember those experiences and to communicate them with others. So the whole tradition of the hand gestures arises out of these subtle experiences. So we can see the hand gestures as a language, a way of communicating beyond words, subtle qualities that go beyond words, that go beyond any kind of expression, except for that which we experience within our own being. So let's take an example, just holding the hands, palms up, and allow yourself to relax deeply and completely. And allow yourself to release and relax into the very center of your being. Attune to that deepest part of yourself. Allow thoughts to be released. Allow the breath to become slow and deep. Relax the hands completely. And then allow that experience of pure being to flow into your hands. The thumb, being the most plausible digit, represents our true being. The index finger represents our individuality. So the thumb representing the universal being. The index finger representing individual beings. And then just allow the index finger to rise up. Allow the index finger to slowly rise up to meet the thumb. And allow the tip of the index finger to join with the tip of the thumb, naturally forming a circle. So that as individual being meets universal being, we experience wholeness, completeness, and peace. The other three fingers represent the three gunas, Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. which are inactive, completely relaxed. And we focus on that meeting of the individual self with the universal self, and the wholeness symbolized by that circle. And simply allow yourself to unite with that wholeness, to embody that wholeness, to experience that wholeness. And so this most common of all the hand gestures, one of the most common, Jnana Mudra, symbolizes that joining of the individual self with the universal self. And releasing the gesture. So of all the different kinds of mudras, their hand gestures are almost unlimited. There's certainly a large number of body gestures, a large number of facial gestures, but literally hundreds, if not thousands, of the hand gestures. And one of the reasons that we can do so much with the hand gestures, why we can create so many different possibilities with them, is each of the fingers is related to one of the 5 elements. So water, earth, space, air, and fire. Water, earth, space, air, and fire. So everything in creation, a composite of the 5 elements in one way or another, whether it's manifest things or subtle things, even our thoughts and feelings, the different qualities we experience within meditation, all up to a certain point where we completely transcend the realm of Prakriti, all of them manifestations of the 5 elements. So with the 2 hands and with all of the different combinations we can make, we can change, transform, manipulate, arrange those 5 elements in so many different ways that the number of different qualities, different kinds of experiences that we can create are almost unlimited. And what we want to do with all of these hand gestures is actually to create these qualities. Using this language more subtle than speech, we can create all of the qualities of our inner being. So let's look at some of these qualities called bhava or bhavana that we create with the hand gestures. And often the name of the gesture itself will tell us the quality that we want to create. So let's begin by simply bringing the hands into fists and wrapping the fingers around the thumbs, and then rest that gesture called Adi Mudra down onto the thighs, closing the eyes, and then just sensing what is the feeling that we want to create. What is the quality we want to cultivate? Notice a sense of grounding. Notice the calm. Notice the centering. And then notice how that's related to the name of the gesture. Adi Mudra, Adi meaning primordial, that which has always been and will always be. The big picture of things. So experience that primordial state. And with it comes grounding, relaxation, ease, and centering. And we want to hold each gesture at least 10 breaths. And as you're beginning, you can hold anywhere between 10 breaths and up to 5 minutes. So let's take another example And so just placing the middle fingers together, just the middle fingernails. The palms of the hands are separate, the other fingers are separate. So it's only the nails of the middle fingers that are together. And notice what happens to your breath. And find the optimal point of connection. Pressing a little more firmly, a little more loosely, until you find the optimal connection. Notice the fullness of the breath. Notice the increased sensitivity to the breath at the front, the sides, and the back of the ribs. And then relating that to the name, Dirga Shvara Mudra, the breath, the gesture of a lengthened breath. And taking just these few more breaths to experience the breath fully, front, back, and sides of the body. And release the gesture and rest. Notice how the effect of the gesture continues on after we release, the quality that's being awakened or unfolded. In this case, the awareness of the lengthened breath in the chest, sides, and back. And of course, if we continue for a longer period, then that effect is also going to continue. And let's now place our hands in Padma Mudra. The thumbs are together, the base of the hands are together, the little fingers are together. And notice the sense of unfolding or opening within the heart center. And just as the name Padma, the lotus, intends, so a gesture that cultivates a sense of opening and unfolding. Taking 10 full deep breaths. Go deep within the heart center and allow that unfolding to occur. And release and rest. Noting how in many cases the name of the gesture itself tells us exactly what it would like to communicate. Many of the gestures also have names of deities. And in this case, we look at the deity and ask what the principal quality, or one of the principal qualities of that deity is. And so we're going to use another gesture here. We're going to place the thumbs inside our fists, and then we're going to turn the palms all the way upward so that the nails are facing straight up. And then notice where the breath is directed. Notice that the breath, all the gestures direct the breath into specific areas of the body. In this case, we can sense that the breath is directed into the solar plexus. We can also sense greater energy, greater vitality. Heart rate and blood pressure will be increased slightly. Greater alertness. Taking several breaths to experience this gesture. Brahma Mudra, related to the deity of creation. So when we have the names of deities related to the gestures, there are often qualities associated with that deity, with Brahma, creation, aliveness, vitality. Taking several breaths to sense and integrate those qualities. And release. Feeling that expansion, that alertness. Brahma Mudra. And some of the gestures are also related to where we find them in the body. And so now placing the right hand just below the navel and the left hand facing upward. Noticing the activation of the second chakra. Notice the massaging effect throughout the entire pelvic area. Notice an energy of inner nurturance, of inner healing throughout the entire pelvis. Svadhisthana Mudra, directly related to the second chakra. And the second chakra's qualities of inner nourishment, inner healing. Taking several breaths to receive those qualities fully and completely. And then release. So each of the gestures, each of the hand mudras, functioning as a language to both speak and listen to our inner being. And that which we hear can be communicated with others and with ourselves through these gestures. Whether it be peace or harmony or deeper breathing or a state of primordial calm. But all of these qualities in the end are reflections of our true being. All of these positive qualities, all of these bhavanas, reflections of our true being. And we have several gestures that allow us to experience, to enter into contact with our true being. So we have the left hand under the right, and we're forming a circle. And you can maybe guess that it's called Mandala Mudra. Mandala literally meaning a circle, but also referring to the wholeness of our true being. So you can close the eyes and then just to let the hands become as round as you can make them intuitively. And in this case, the name of the gesture mandala, speaking to the physical circle, but also speaking to the circle of wholeness of our true being. So taking several breaths to experience that circle of wholeness that you are. And allow that wholeness to infuse your entire being. You can even visualize a color of wholeness and allow yourself to become completely immersed in that color and that feeling. So each of the gestures, with its name or its deity or its location, telling us its quality, and all of these qualities coming together for us just to experience who we are. That wholeness and peace that is always present and waiting to be recognized clearly. And then release, feeling the effects and continuing to sense that wholeness. And then checking my time. Okay, I'm doing well. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is my first live, and none of you can notice that I'm nervous, so that's good. You're probably all looking at this beautiful Buddha and these flowers. No one can see that I'm nervous, so that's better for both of us. So I'm right on time, and we're going to go into the second half of our presentation here. So now we're going to be doing some initial families of mudras, some introductory families that allow us to experience mudras and how they work. So we're going to begin with a family of breath mudras, and you're going to be receiving all of this information in your handout. So if you haven't sent in your email yet, make sure that you send that in so that you get the handout with all of the names of the gestures, all of the Sanskrit. And so we're just going to be going through them and teaching them, and you'll be receiving all of the information in your handout. So let's begin by just placing the hands just below the floating ribs. And taking the opportunity to experience your breathing in the lower part of the body. In Kanishta Sharira Mudra. Simply using this gesture as a point of awareness. Feel the touch of the thumb and the forefinger. Relax the shoulders back and down. And notice how Kanishta Sharira Mudra enhances breath from the lower abdomen, lower body. Next, we're going to tuck the thumbs into the armpits. Again, sensing the contact both of the forefinger and the thumb. Now, as you inhale, allow the hands to glide gently apart. And as you exhale, allow them to glide back together. In Madhyama Sharira Mudra. Noticing the activation of the breath in the middle lungs and the chest. And then releasing that gesture. Continuing to feel the activation of the breath in the middle lungs, middle chest. And now, bringing the arms into the air, begin with the palms facing forward. Then allow the palms to turn backward and placing the fingertips between the shoulder blades in Hasta Sharira Mudra. Relaxing the shoulders back and down. Allowing the elbows to move backwards. And sensing the breath in the very uppermost portions of the chest, right up under the tops of the shoulders, right at the very top of the lungs. And then release that gesture and continue to feel your breath at the very top of the chest. And notice how this simple hand gestures has expanded your awareness of the breath in each part of the body. Now we're going to expand our awareness of the breath as a whole. So this next gesture, I'll explain it clearly. Some of them are just a little bit more complex. So I'm going to take my little finger. I'm going to place it at the very base of the thumb. I'm going to take my middle finger and I'm going to place it at the middle joint of the thumb. I'm going to take my ring finger and place it at the middle joint of the thumb. Then I'm going to take my middle finger and place it at the top of the thumb. And then you say, how can I hold this? Well, once you get used to it, it's pretty easy to hold. But if not, you can just set the hand down onto the thigh. The index finger is extended. And we'll do that with both hands. And then if you're having any difficulty holding them, then just set that gesture down onto the thighs so that, and with the palm facing down, so that that helps you support the gesture. So again, it's the little finger to the very base of the thumb, the ring finger to the middle joint of the thumb, and the ring finger to the middle joint of the thumb, and the middle finger to the top joint of the thumb, and then holding those both down onto the thighs, either facing downward for ease of holding or upward to feel the gesture more completely. And then feeling the full three-part breath, feeling the breath fully and completely. Purna Svara Mudra means a complete breath. And as we feel that complete breath, let's take a moment to notice the difference between holding the gesture upward and holding it downward. So if your gesture is turned downward for a moment, just hold it upward. And when the gesture is turned upward, then we're reinforcing or supporting the fire element, the quality of sunlight. So the gesture held upward will be slightly more energizing. And then take that same gesture and turn it downward. And notice how it's slightly more calming. Both are going to facilitate the full three-part breathing. But with the gesture held upward, that energy will be activated more intensely. And again, turning the gesture upward, noticing the difference. And then just for a few more breaths, experiencing that full three-part breathing. and then release, continuing to feel the 3-part breathing. And opening the eyes. So whatever the system in the body, whether it's a physical system or whether it's a subtle system, there are a series of gestures to open and support the health of that system. So we just experienced a set of gestures to support the physical breath, lower breath, middle breath, upper breath, and then full breath. But whether we're talking about the pranavayus, whether we're talking about the chakras, whether we're talking about each physical system of the body, there are a set of gestures to support that system and to support every member of that system. So we just looked at a series of gestures to support the different areas of the breath. So now we're going to look at a series of gestures to support the autonomic nervous system. So we're going to begin with Adi Mudra. We're going to be making the hands into fists with the thumbs inside. And of course the autonomic nervous system supporting the relaxation or activation within the body. So the states of relaxation or activation, the level of relaxation or even stress at a certain point, mediated and moderated by the autonomic nervous system. So we're going to begin with a gesture that supports the activation of the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response. So simply making these fists with the thumbs inside, Adi Mudra. So sensing ourselves very relaxed. Again, that gesture we did at the beginning. Primordial, calm, centering, relaxing. So if you'd like to think of the nervous system as kind of a gas and brake, that gas and brake of energy and relaxation present throughout the day, but one part of that system, either the parasympathetic, the relaxation phase, or the sympathetic, the activation phase, one always dominant. So now feeling the maximum relaxation phase, parasympathetic nervous system. And working with this model gives us the ability to see how the gestures can support the level of energy that we would like to cultivate at any time during our daily activities. And now simply extend the thumbs into Adho Merudanda Mudra. We've made just a very little change. We've extended the thumbs out. The thumbs are pointing toward each other in Adho Merudanda Mudra. And notice that you're just a little bit more active. It's almost as if we're shifting up through the gears of a car. So now we were in first gear, now we've shifted up to second gear. And regulating the level of energy, the activation of the autonomic nervous system within the body. And now point the thumbs straight up in Merudanda Mudra. And notice how now you're experiencing considerably more energy and vitality, alertness. And then keeping that same gesture, turn the thumbs outward. And notice how you've increased that energy even more. How the breath has moved way up into the upper chest. And we're eliciting much more of a sympathetic response. Energy, vitality, alertness. And then let's shift those gears back down. Same gesture, thumbs pointing up, a little less energy, a little less activation, a little less alertness. And then pointing the thumbs toward each other, relaxing even more. And then placing the thumbs inside the fists, going back to Adi Mudra, and relaxing fully and completely. So seeing that the gestures themselves mediate and moderate our level of energy. And releasing. And sensing your level of energy at this moment. And now we're going to see that the gestures themselves direct the breath to different areas of the body. So the question will be, well, how do I breathe while I'm practicing mudras? And of course, we're going to be breathing through the nose rather than through the mouth. But it's the gesture itself that decides where the breath will be located. And so we don't need to choose where to breathe, but allow the gesture to direct the breath to that area. So we're going to be using the Hasta Mudra family. For our first gesture, we're simply going to touch the little fingers together. All the other fingers are not touching, just relaxed inward. And so rest the hands onto the thighs and notice where the breath is naturally directed. In most cases, most people will feel the breath directed down into the lowest area of the pelvis, the very base of the body, maybe even also the legs and feet. And some people will experience this differently. There are people who do experience it differently, but in most cases, it's just a question of practice. Practicing this several times, you'll start to feel the breath very much in the lowest part of the body. So adjust the fingers, that idea of pressure, a little more, a little less. And then some people will say, well, I'm not feeling anything. And that's just a question of practice. Sensing the breath in the low body. And then the question comes up, well, maybe I'm just suggesting that to myself. So then remove the little fingers and notice how the breath changes. Notice that it's actually the gesture that's directing the breath to that area. Basically, area of the first chakra. And then again, pressing the little fingers together. And notice the breath directed to the base of the body, pelvic area. First chakra. And then move up to the ring fingers. Find that point of contact. The other fingers relaxed in any way that's comfortable. And notice that the breath has naturally moved up to the area between the pelvis and the navel, the second chakra area. Notice that it's the gesture itself that naturally directs the breath there. release the gesture. Notice that the breath will move to any other part of your body. And then again, placing the ring fingers together. Breath moving into the second chakra area. And now pressing just the middle fingers together. Notice how the breath naturally moves into the solar plexus. Third chakra area. And how each form of breathing will also naturally activate the qualities of that chakra. So these middle fingers activating energy, vitality, enthusiasm, radiant sunlight. Breathing fully and completely into the third chakra area. And then moving up to the index fingers. Notice how the breath moves naturally into the heart. So the gestures themselves directing where breath and energy moves. And of course the breath intimately connected to the subtle energy of the chakras. And sensing the qualities of the heart chakra. Openness, compassion, appreciation of the present moment. And finally, or almost finally, touching the tips of the thumbs together, only the thumbs. The rest of the fingers can just be relaxed. And notice how the breath is naturally directed into the throat. And sensing the openness, the vastness of the throat chakra. A deeper connection with your inner being. And release. Feeling each of those areas of your body. And then bringing all of the fingers and the thumbs together. It's almost as if you visualize a globe within the fingers and thumbs, as if you're holding a globe within that shape, holding it anywhere that's comfortable. And then sensing the breath throughout your entire being. And this is called Hakini Mudra, the deity of the third eye. And as you sense those first 5 chakras, there's also a natural awakening of your third eye point. And now to complete, imagine yourself becoming that gesture. Sense a globe within that gesture, representing your true being, and allow yourself to become that wholeness. That feeling of completeness, and with it, a feeling of peace. And a release of all attachments within the realm of Prakriti. Dependence, autonomy, the freedom of your true being. And sensing that freedom within the third eye point. Becoming the gesture. becoming the experience of wholeness, becoming the clarity, so that nothing remains. All is released, all thoughts, the entire body, so that all that remains is an infinite experience of wholeness and clarity that you are. And we affirm that wholeness and clarity by chanting the sound of Om. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. Thank you for participating, and we'll be here next week for yoga of the hands, the mudras, for the health of the physical body and health conditions. Until next week, namaste.